Battlefield 6 has just wrapped up its first weekend of open beta, and while many people are saying this seems like a return to form for the series, to say it's without issue would be a lie. As someone who has been in labs since the start, I'll go through these issues and speak on which have been ignored or acted on by DICE. Some of these have been touched on by other creators like map sizes, but I want to point out issues that I haven't seen mentioned, like Liberation Peak's butter-coated slippery rocks, vehicle mobile spawns, and the total lack of ammo pickups. So let's get into it. Feel free to like or subscribe if you agree with my takes or don't. First, I'll start with the infantry and class issues that I haven't seen touched on as much. The biggest difference between this game and all the others in the series is that you have absolutely no way to pick up ammo or resupply outside of a support player's bag. Fallen players do not drop any ammo, and there is no ammo resupply crates on the map. This causes issues especially with the assault class, as it only has 2 to 3 clips for many of its guns. This forces you to chase after supports who are either playing the class as medic and not dropping bags, or just using the class for its LMG and resupplying only themselves. I've had several games now where I've either had to die because I had no ammo, or I've had to chase down a support player for several minutes, trying to hold down the interact button to get ammo off of them, which sometimes doesn't even work. The TTK also varies wildly by gun. Some SMGs actually do more damage per hit than LMGs at the same distance, which makes no sense if you take into account the fact that SMGs have a much higher fire rate already, and also the actual size of the rounds that they fire. LMGs are firing much heavier rounds and should probably be doing a lot more damage. Damage fall-off also seems to be pretty much non-existent in the beta, and by that I mean if you're shooting someone far away, you don't really seem to be doing much less damage than if you were shooting them point blank. And this has led to some very clear meta choices in the beta, including the M4A1 carbine and the game's only shotgun. One issue that has been brought up a lot that's actually been corrected already by labs feedback is there being 2 launchers for the Engineer, the RPG and the anti-air launcher. I think they left them in the beta so people could cause more destruction and explosions, but they were fixed in labs before the beta happened, so it will be fixed when the game releases, and they've touched on that themselves as well. Lastly, not class locking guns has divided the community and led to 2 separate playlists currently. Personally, I think they should just be locked as they always were. It will lead to a lot of meta issues where people will just choose the best gun and the best class, and that's all you'll see, I believe. So hopefully they'll listen to the player base and change it, but so far they haven't listened to labs say that, so I don't have high hopes. And the main issue that I've seen a lot of people bring up, content creators and players, are the map sizes and their design. The first weekend of the beta has 3 maps available. We have Siege of Cairo, Iberian Offensive, sometimes called King's Battery depending on which game mode you're playing, and Liberation Peak. Of these, only Liberation Peak feels like a Battlefield map, complete with full combined arms and a large map size. Both Cairo and King's Battery suffer from small map sizes and key design issues relating to spawn camping and flag flipping, which I'll get into. Starting with Cairo, this map, while very small, does have some interesting variation in combat situations. You have some open streets, you have some really close quarters fighting, and the sea point is particularly enjoyable. Its main problem is that one side wins overwhelmingly more than the other. The left HQ spawn has 2 exits. One is a large open street area that has absolutely no cover and can be blocked and monitored from the A point, the B point, and from just outside the C point. And the other is a small alleyway which can easily be camped. While the right HQ is much larger, has more lanes, and more cover to exit. That leads to the left team usually losing significantly more than the right team. The other issue here is that the map will always look like this picture which I'm putting up on screen. This is a screenshot from one of my games. So as you can see, the gimme flags, so what I'm calling a gimme flag is the left team should have A and B, that's their gimmies, and the right team should have D and E, that's their gimmies. You can see that this is actually flipped, and this is what it looks like. I would say probably 80% of the games that I've played, and I've played I think 15 hours of this beta, so plus labs. It's harder to attack points from your team's HQ than it is to attack from the middle of the map. So what this means is the left team will easily capture the right team's gimme flags if they come from C, and the right team can capture and hold the left team's gimme flags, A and B, if they attack from C. This leads to just HQ camping on both sides and a fight over the middle C point. And because of the game's spawn system, you will always spawn with enemies behind you if the map's in this state, meaning your only safe spawn is your HQ where you are already spawn camped. And the right team can also access a rooftop from their HQ that the left team can't possibly reach, which isn't very fair, and I'm hoping that's something that they'll address, because it should be a fairly simple fix. But yeah, this is probably the most egregious map, I would say, of the three, in terms of just issues with map design, because it's always flipped like this. And because you spawn on what should be your safe side, so the side closer to your HQ, you will always have people behind you when the map is flipped. So, for that one especially, I feel like they haven't really listened to Labs, but they should. So we'll see how that one ends up. Moving on to King's Battery, it has a similar imbalance, and that stems almost entirely from the HQ design again. So there are only 2 lanes out of the left HQ, which can be very easily guarded from cover. And if you place a vehicle near the A point, it can actually have direct line of sight of both exits. And the issue on both of these maps are made worse by the mobile vehicle spawn issues that I'll mention shortly. On the plus side, Liberation Peak does feel much more like the Battlefield maps that we're used to in other games, but it actually suffers from terrain issues where all of the rocks seem to have a really thick coating of grease on them and are for some reason very slippery, meaning that you can easily slide to your death from height since there's a lot of altitude difference in the map. And the map designs in general really haven't changed at all since Labs, even with the lopsided win rates that we're seeing in beta, which were also present in Labs. So I don't have a ton of hope that they're going to make these changes, but we'll see what happens. Another one that kind of relates both to infantry and maps is the mounting system. It's very, very touchy to get your weapon to mount properly, and very often your gun will actually just pop off of the mount, or you won't be able to mount to things that you would expect to be able to. And the maps also have some hitbox issues that I'm expecting to be fixed by the time the game comes out, where you'll destroy something, but its hitbox will be there, even though it's no longer visible. Especially on Siege of Cairo, if you're on the C point, the left team side of the C point has 2 big air conditioners on the roof, and their hitboxes stay even if the air conditioning units are destroyed. And the worst part of all of these maps is definitely just the spawn mechanics. As you can see in this example here, I spawned directly in line of sight of an enemy Abrams. I don't really have a chance. There doesn't seem like there's much consideration of safe spawning, as I've died right after spawning so many times. And the logic for this doesn't really seem to be touched since Labs either. So hopefully it'll be something that they address, but we can't really say for sure until we get the final game. I will acknowledge that it is pretty difficult to figure out exactly what would be safe, but it seems like something should be better than this. And finally, the vehicle balance has been a hot topic for the beta, because of the challenges for getting 3000 damage shield on vehicles for Engineer. Most games will have either an IFV or a tank with 3 or more people healing it at the back. And this means that it will basically live forever and just roll the game unless your whole team coordinates to kill it. And DICE, from what I've seen, hasn't addressed this issue at all publicly, and they haven't made any changes to repair mechanics since Labs. They might think that this will stop as people finish the challenge. People will kind of move off of it and won't focus on it as much, but that remains to be seen. The biggest kind of game-breaking issue that I've seen with vehicles in beta and in Labs is the fact that they have up to 6 spawnable slots. So if you look at the IFV, there's 6 places that you can spawn on that, and it's almost never full. Anyone on the team, this is the worst part, that anyone on the team can spawn on the vehicles, whether your squad is driving it or not. So what this leads to is vehicles becoming effectively mobile spawn points. Now, very often people will bowl a vehicle through enemy lines, and almost the entire team will spawn on that vehicle and dismount. Because there's so many spots, there's enough that someone can select it, spawn on it, and get out, and there's still room for the next person to spawn on it and get out. So this makes defending any point almost impossible, as you could have the entire enemy team spawn behind you. and just swarm points. Because of this, almost no one spawns on objectives either, because you can spawn in a vehicle with your whole team closer to where you want to be, so you won't spawn on your objective and run towards the other objective. So there's almost no fighting on capture points because there's no one on them defending. Usually you're fighting in between them. So if you're attacking, you'll just be behind the enemy team because you spawned in this vehicle, and you'll just go on the point and they'll actually be farther ahead of you. So this gets rid of a lot of the kind of frontline fighting that you have typically in Battlefield, and it just kind of defeats the purpose of conquest, in my opinion. And you also see a lot of people in areas that you would never expect them to be, so it's really hard to, like I said, figure out where the front line is, know where you're safe, know where you're not, know which areas to be watching, because you can be between, say, a cap B and C. You can spawn on B, fight your way towards C, and then you'll have 6 people all of a sudden right behind you, taking your point and shooting you in the back. And I don't know that DICE is going to do anything about this one either, because it seems kind of by design, and they really haven't touched on it at all. And finally, as a lot of you have probably seen, DICE posted that their new anti-cheat has already stopped, I think, over 400,000 attempts of cheating or modifying the game. But there's been a lot of videos that have shown that people are already getting around it. And if it took less than 4 days for people to beat this anti-cheat, it doesn't bode well for the future release at all. Even if we have a small percentage, that's too much. I personally have had, I think, 2 games out of the 15 hours that I've played, so not a lot. But still, I've had 2 games where I've seen people that I genuinely believe have been either using exploits or directly cheating. One was in an area that you can't possibly get to. It was a rooftop in Cairo that has no access point. And the second just seemed like it was kind of wall hacking and aimbotting and had drastically more kills than anybody else on either team. So it's a little concerning that it was that easy to beat the anti-cheat, but hopefully the team at DICE will be able to continue working on that and fight back against these. So overall, I feel like the game has a good footing and should please especially the Battlefield 3 and 4 fanboys, because it is modern era and is intentionally very much like those games. But there are a lot of intentional design choices that are leaving people scratching their heads. With several months of labs already done, it doesn't seem like DICE is focused on listening to feedback as they promised, as there really haven't been many changes that have come out of the several suggestions from the labs community, including issues that are still here in the beta. So let me know your thoughts on the beta below. Did you see the same issues that I did? Did you see something that I may have missed in this video, or do you disagree that some of the things I mentioned aren't actually issues? Let me know. And thank you for watching. Please consider liking or subscribing if you've made it this far. It helps me out a ton and is totally free. And let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. This is a little bit new for my channel, but I'm definitely open to doing more of them. So thank you, and I'll see you next time.